So, hello everyone. My name is Kimberly, and she's my colleague Melody. We are both from CPCE, and we are here today to share a topic on the impact of AI tools on English writing assessment and analysis of rubric design and grading approach. Before we start, here is the agenda, the outline for today's presentation. So, we are here to present you a case study of a course that we taught in the previous semester. So, it's an academic English course. So, we will start by introducing the course and also the assessment design, and then we'll also talk about the interpretations of how we interpret the students' first draft assignments, and also especially those assignments with high AI indicators. And at the same time, we will also provide some solutions, like how we tackle this kind of AI writing problems, and also how we can embrace AI in teaching and learning. So before we talk about the case, which is the course, I would just like to give you some background on AI writing. So as we all know that AI has the power of changing the world basically. But then so here we know that the integrations of AI with mobile teaching and learning is emerging as a promising approach to enhancing pedagogical flexibility and improving learning outcome. So we learned that just now we heard from the previous speaker. We learned that we can integrate AI into maybe syllabus designs or teaching plan design, etc. So the use of AI tools in academic writing also gives us several benefits. Like it gives us including formative feedback, assessment, tutoring, content integrate generations, which can improve the writing skills of English second learners, which is basically the majority of our students. So how can we use AI, to help them to learn English better, and also help them with their research writing progress? But then, educator must be aware of the potential limitation and ethical concerns associated with the use of AI tools in academic writing, such as the risk of plagiarism and the validity of the assessment. And for these 2 points, basically will be today's main focus of analysis. So how can we prevent students from over-relying on AI writing, and also how can we make sure that the writing that they produced has the validity, has the authenticity, and basically it should be accurate. So AI can generate essays that are very similar to those written by humans, as we all know. So this raises concern about potential misuse in the assessment process. And later, as Melody will be sharing some examples of some students' writing, we can analyze, the style of AI written assignments versus human written assignments. And stakeholders such as schools and testing organizations should be prepared to detect AI-generated essays submitted by students or test takers. So just like our school, we also used the AI indicator provided by Turnitin. And also we received several assignments with 100% AI indicators in the previous semester. So how can we deal with that? And so basically it gives us challenges. And we also need to think about some solutions. How can we prevent the over-reliance on AI writing in students' assignment? So to detect AI writing in students' work, we have some applications, websites, etc., to help us to detect some AI written assignments. So just now I mentioned the Turnitin AI indicator, and we also have GPT serial. So we do have this kind of detectors. So, but then these tools may pose challenges when used in high-stakes writing assessment in education. So one major issue is that most of these detectors are all-purpose and trained on vast data sets containing many types of text irrelevant to such assessment, making it difficult to justify and trust the detection outcome, especially in the high-stakes test situations. So for these kind of AI detectors, the results could be challenged by students. They could say oh, that's not true. I actually wrote this part. This is not true. We can't trust this this detector. And also we tried it submitting different student as the same piece of student assignment to different detector, and the results could be very different. So one could say 100% written by AI, and the other could say it's entirely written by human beings. So, I mean, this kind of challenges, we need to think about how to face it. And I think it's important for us to understand the major difference between human written assignments and also AI generated assignment. So even like OpenAI's detector, which comes with transparent metrics, also raise concerns about their performance in a narrower scope of writing assessments. So the question for us today is that in what ways can rubric design and grading criteria be modified to ensure that students' writing skills in problem solution essay are accurately evaluated, given the potential impact of AI tools on writing quality and authenticity? So how can this be done? So now let me introduce you to today's case, which is LCS 1087, English for Academic Studies 1. So we are from CPC. So this course is a compulsory subject for all students studying at Poly U Speak. Okay, so it's like all students, they have to take this subject. So this subject aims to help students acquire the English language competence required to study effectively in a post-secondary English medium learning environment. And these are the learning outcomes. So you can see one of the very major learning outcome is to help them to write short, structured academic essay. And this could be very challenging for us in the midst of this AI era. Okay, and also we hope that our students will learn how to summarize and paraphrase ideas, which now seems very easy because you can just ask ChatGPT to summarize or paraphrase items for you. So how can we ensure that students can still learn how to do that without over-relying on AI? So this will be a big challenge to us. So, and another thing that is very important for this course is that we do talk about research. So how can they acquire research skills? Okay, how can they find suitable references, suitable academic sources for their work is also one of the major learning outcomes for this course. So now let's talk about the course design. So this is the teaching plan. And as you can see, we actually devoted more than half of the course on writing. So you can see part 1, we have developing your academic essay. And then after that is developing your academic essay part 2. So we do have different focuses. And then we also want to make sure that they learn how to ensure the logical flow of ideas. So all of these are part of the academic essays that they will be submitting. And at the same time, so here, basically, for the third lesson to the 7 lessons, they're all about academic essay writing teaching. And then after that, they need to first submit the draft, okay, which is in class 8. They have to submit the first draft of their term paper. And then after that, we'll be giving them comments on the first draft. And then in the end of the course, they will be submitting the final version. So it's like a progressive work. So, and here, this is the assessment that we are going to talk about today. And this is the term paper, which is 30% of the whole course. And more importantly, if you remember, in class 8, they need to submit the first draft of the essay. And the first draft is around 17%. So altogether, this assignment, including the first draft and the final submission, is 47% of the total course. So it's a very, very important assessment. So, so this is what the student have to do. So they need to summarize, paraphrase ideas, write a structured short academic essay, apply reading skills because they will be reading different references. So they need to find which references suit their essay most. And then they need to do some research, okay, to find the most suitable information, references to back themselves up. So, and the genre of the essay is a problem solution structures essay. So they need to write a title. They need to give us like the background with statistics, some figures to support the fact that there is such a problem, and they need to find a solution to solve the problem. And they need to write a thesis statement, and they need to provide us with 2 solutions and to argue which solution is a better solution. And also, they have to think about a rebuttal to critics of their preferred solution. So it's like a they are not just required to give a solution, but they need to make argument. So, and then lastly, conclusion. So regarding the references, we do have some requirements. So they need to have at least like 5 references at least. And then all should be cited in APA, and they need to have at least 1 direct quotation, because we want to make sure that they know how to do both direct quotation and paraphrasing references. So they are also they can use non-English source if they want, but then the maximum number will be 1. So we did have a statement on plagiarism. However, this was made at the very beginning of the semester, before before the emergence of AI tools, at least in our institutions. So we didn't include anything about AI writing. We didn't include anything about that. Basically, for plagiarism, it just talks about like, oh, they should cite their references, they should paraphrase as much as possible, etc. And we also provided a declarations of original work form for the students to include in the assignment. But then that declaration form only talks about the originality. Like they have to make sure that the essay is written by them. They have cited everything, etc. So it's like a very basic one. So they also need to submit their work to turn it in. So that's compulsory for all students. So now, may I pass the floor to Melody, as she will talk about, how to interpret.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, everyone. Sorry for that mask. I got back cold today, so I have to wear a mask. Well, before we provide solutions to student use of AI tools, I would like to briefly show you how our students are dealing with AI. So how the features of their paper, how their paper will look like when they use AI. So, well, this is a study. So we have more than 180 students. So for my class, I have like 30 something students. Before we warned them not to use AI, I realized around 15% of my students, they do use AI, and that's only the ratio of like 100 AI generated essay, not counting those 30% or 40% or even 70%. So the ratio is comparatively high. So it's very tempting. So after reading several papers written with the help of AI, I would say all the examples I provide today is 100% AI generated essay. So I think that will be quite representative. So we realized that there are at least several features of those AI generated student work. So firstly, these papers are contains relative simple sentence structures, and sometimes even fragments. So fragment means sentences with it's just partial sentences. So we'll have a look at in a minute. And also these papers contains very general points with vague descriptions. Basically, this sentences can be true for whatever essay it is. So given just like talking, we're all human beings will die, something like that. And these papers are 100% error-free in grammar, which is impossible. So I'm not saying our students are bad at writing, but as long as we are human beings, right? Even us, when we write a paper, we will occasionally have mistakes, but these papers are strikingly 100% error-free in grammar. So which is really alarming. So this is like the smoking gun evidence that they're actually using it. And also we realized that many of those 100% AI generated essay, they have no references, and sometimes even false or fake references. So we'll have a look. Okay, so the first features, as I mentioned, is usually these papers they have relatively simple sentence structures, sometimes even with fragments. So if you have a look, so these two samples are all 100% AI generated essays according to the indicator of turn it in. Of course, I also run it against GPT-0, so it's also a 100% AI generated paper. So you can see here, limiting or prohibiting the use of plastic cutlery can prevent plastic waste. Cons may have. So this is something that if you use prompt in GPT, so this is the kind of answer they will generate, right? So this student is basically copying without any editing. So this is what it looks like, sentence fragment. And another example, if you have a look, is yes, um, there are two possible solutions to this issue. One is to hire a housekeeper, and the other is to divide household responsibility fairly between the couples. I'm not saying these are not okay, but because this is a English class, so we are actually expecting students to use more diversified sentence structures instead of like one is the other is like is comparatively simple sentence structures. So the second features that we observe is it contains very general points with vague descriptions. So let's have a look. To achieve this, we need to provide more resources and support for teachers to adopt new pedagogical approaches. Basically, it's nothing, right? Basically, it's nothing. We need to provide more resources and support to, well, this applies to any essay, right? And by doing so, we can create a brighter future for, basically this applies for whatever essay it is. So it's very general, very vague. So GPT tend to, I would say beat around the bush. So because it tends to be, if you ask GPT a question, in order to be sounding more official or correct, it tends to give us more general answers because general answers tend to be correct, right? If you give specific or details, it will be wrong. So if you see this, congratulations, this is usually 100% AI generated essay. So that's it. So the next point is if you read this, I actually well, this is a comparison between two students' work. The sample 4 represent a 100% AI generated essay. So it's, I cannot even discover one single errors in grammar, which is basically impossible according to in my whole career. And sample 6 represents students 100% human writing. So we have a lot of, for example, high environmental pollution were established without the past tense established, right? So argue, we can say argues, or so these bubbles represent my comments. So usually actually this is not a bad student work, but it's just grammatical mistakes are very common in their work. So the last point I want to make is this point is more horrifying because if you can observe for GPT AI generated essay, there is no reference at all. And sometimes even fake references. So this is kind of horrifying. I discovered this. So this is from another student work. These are different. Well, Semper 6 has no references. Semper 7 has references, but these references are fake. So what do we mean by fake? We have the author, the year, even the name of the journal. So the journal do exist. So does the issue, but the page number doesn't. So for example, if I look at this journal only contains 180 pages for this issue, but it has, for this one, it mentions 312, which does not exist. So it's kind of horrifying. So next time if you observe something like this, oh, congratulations, this is 100% AI generated essay. So before we go to our conclusion, we would like to briefly introduce to you the framework we are considering here. So in design rubrics or design course curriculum, we would like to bring your attention to the framework of authentic assessment. So the point is, authentic assessment caters to the authentic needs of students in authentic learning and teaching background. So for example, in this case, we are actually in a year of AI, right? So authentic assessment requires us to not avoiding the needs of students in the AI. So in other words, it's not a matter of whether we should use GPT. It's a matter of how and when, right? When we use it, how we should teach students to credit the use of GPT. So, and also in terms of assessment, as Kimberly also mentioned, we do have asked them to do a draft and revision and final paper. So this process is assessment for learning. So now I'd like to pass the stage to Kimberly to briefly mention the solutions we have in this course.
Yeah, sorry, we're running out of time, but I'll try to do it quick. So here, this is the revised declaration form that we provided for our students right after the emergence of AI tools. So here you can see that we have made a statement asking them to declare that they did not use any AI tools to produce an assignment or part of the assignment. So not even a single sentence, basically. And here, just a remark, we should make it clear, like, what are AI tools? Because some students say Grammarly isn't an AI tool. So, I mean, this is arguable. Like, what are AI tools? And then we also talk about, like, so they shouldn't, in the event of suspicion of plagiarism, including an unauthorized AI generated content, this will be considered as plagiarism. Okay. And later, maybe if we have time, we can talk more about like how we actually tackle each case. So yeah, and here, this is our rubrics. So in view of this AI writing, we actually revised the rubrics a little bit. And you can see from the screen. So we have 4 components in the rubrics. We have organization, structure, we have grammar, and also we have reference. So can I just ask you one question? If student actually use AI to write their essay, which part do you think they can score 100% for the whole assignment? Grammar, exactly. Okay, so yeah, and this is what student can get for 100% AI generated essay without being spotted by any AI detectors. Okay, so but then that's not really possible. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, student can use AI tools to write the assignment. However, AI tools can't really help them with the structure, the argument, and also the reference, just like what Melody said. So, and here just a brief, quick analysis of the sample essay, like what are we expecting? So basically in our assignment, we expect the students to have these. So how can they write a good thesis statement? And also they need to give us the solutions. They need to present their arguments, okay, including the stance they should be supported by references. They should develop like a counter argument. They should have a rebuttal. They should argue which solution is more preferred. All their writing should be supported by references, valid references. And from our experience, if students just use AI tools to generate their assignment, and if the student did not pay attention to the course, normally they won't have all of these features. They won't have counter argument. They won't have rebuttal. The references are fake. They don't have thesis statement. They don't know that they need to argue which solution is better. The whole essay will be super general, just like what Melody has analyzed it. So for us, we think that yes, we want to acknowledge that students do use AI in writing, but then maybe we as an educator, we could take a step to ensure that this can be nicely embraced it. So they are not over relying on AI to write, but then students should learn that it is important for them to do the research for themselves, because they should learn how to digest the information that AI has been giving them. They should develop their own critical thinking. So as educator, we should encourage students to use academic databases. We should highlight the importance of variety in sources like academic references. They should learn how to find reliable sources to support themselves instead of just blindly relying on AI tools. And more importantly, we also think that in the future assessment, we can ask students to provide a research log or journal. So students can just shoot like a diary, like, oh, today I have actually visited this page, I have read that article, etc. So in that case, they can document their research process. And in that case, they can learn the importance of starting such a journey. And also, we can also request highlighted copies of reference to be submitted with the assignment. So in that case, if they have cited that website, they just print it out and highlight it. So in that case, we can ensure that, the student actually did their own work. And last but not least, we as teachers, we can also have a look at all those the diaries, okay, the references provided, and we can give them comments. We can engage with the student. We can join such a journey with them so that they feel that they're not alone. They don't just have to rely on AI. So that's it for us, okay? And here's the question. I mean, if you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. So if you have questions, please raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. So any questions in the room?
Thank you for that. I have 2 questions. One is, do you think students can ask ChatGPT to create work, an essay with grammatical errors? So then that's going to be a problem. And the other thing, it looks really good, but then there's so much more work that we have to do the fact checking, right? So a generative AI is actually giving us more work then.
Thank you for your question. We haven't tried that, like asking ChatGPT to generate writing with grammatical mistakes. So I think that may be possible. I mean, because ChatGPT can role play, so you can. I mean, yeah, I think you can. It might be possible. So, but then I think for your second questions, yes, it does give us extra work. So. We actually spent like more than like 2 to 3 days on discussing how to treat those essays with high AI indicators. So should we penalize students with 40% AI indicator? So what's the boundary? How can we justify this? Is it fair to our students? Because students basically, it's just the first semester. So if we penalize them for like for plagiarism, and then it will come with like maybe a fail in the course, and then also disciplinary action, then will that be too harsh? So, and then we actually, for 100% cases, we actually asked the student to resubmit their work and with mark deduction. So, I mean, we try to be more lenient. So, and because our school is also trying to embrace AI tools, so it's the policy that our school is following. And yes, I do think that it will give us extra work. But then I think at the same time, it's also helping us to save lots of time, because we can try to integrate AI into our course, and the student can actually learn how to use AI to help them with their thinking process maybe. But then at the same time, we need to teach students how to master AI as well, instead of being led by AI. So yes, but then for educator, we also need to make sure that we can help students to develop their critical thinking. So if that takes time, and as long as it's worth it, I think it's okay. So yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions online here as well. So the first question here is, do you recommend that students should use AI to correct their writing, their work before they submit?
So I would like to share my experience as well. So I just show you 100% AI generated essay, but actually, to be honest, one of the best essays written are those 30% AI generated essay. So what does that mean? It means they used AI, but then they do post editing. So AI is more about prompt engineering, right? And I know the word is really hit. So basically, a student had to key in the right prompt for the AI to generate a draft. And then for those 30% AI cases, they do revise and revamp the essay according to the needs of the rubrics. That's kind of smart. So that's the way I see it. Maybe in the future, that's the way we deal with, just like the way we use Google. We can't. It's nothing wrong with using Google, but it's a matter of we cannot just copy from Google, right? We have to do citations, we have to paraphrasing, we have to credit it. So in my opinion, well, in the future, that will be probably the trend. So that's my sharing. I'm not sure if I answer your question. So.
I think that's definitely something for them to think about. Okay, so one more question online here. Not sure who this is. I'm not sure if my students are different, but my question is how to encourage students to use AI tools like ChatGPT.
It's a matter, first of all, we have to have consensus from fellow teachers, and also we have to get agreement from senior management. So that's the first step. Personally, I do embrace this trend. So for me, it's nothing we can avoid. It's a trend. You like it or not, right? We cannot avoid it. I mean, the AI has been, because I do work in a translation company before, they told me they're actually using the machine translated post-editing model, meaning basically they ask AI to do the initial job, and then human beings are post-editing their work. So for me, if everyone else is fine with it, I would probably encourage my students to use AI, but we have to warn them. You have to use it in a proper way. You have to credit it, right? And even we can train them how to key in the right prompt. So in order to get this result, how to key in exactly the right prompt. And after you get it, how can we do post-editing? So post-editing is fundamentally the reason why human beings are different from AI. So prove you are better than AI by post-editing AI's work.
Okay, any last question? I think we've got a minute left. Oh, yes, one over there at the back. 1 second.
Hi, thanks very much for your very interesting talk. The question I sort of been wondering if is about the kind of declaration that you ask students to sign and saying that there's no part of the writing is being kind of generated, AI generated, and then you said that the best essays are kind of 30% AI. So how do you reconcile that part? So how would you penalize students or you just let it go? So that's what we've been kind of
Right. I think
struggling as well.
Yeah. So first of all, yeah, as I just said, like we spend lots of time on discussing the boundary, like should it be like a 40% or above or whatever. So what we did was that, as I think what the example that Melody provided was just to say that if students just completely rely on AI to write their essay, it will definitely not be a very nice essay. So so I think the 30% is just like an example. It's not like we think that, oh, if students use AI to write their essay and then it will be a great essay. So, and I think for the boundary, so we don't really have a very clear answer. But then in the previous semester, what we did is that if student has, if the work is actually about 50%, then we will just contact the students and just investigate into the case and then ask them to give us some justifications. If they can prove that, oh, they did their work, like just give us some progress. Like maybe they have saved up some drafts. Maybe they have some. Maybe they have a history on their websites. History is on their browser to show that they have done some research. So whatever evidence they can provide, we will then treat this as a non-AI writing cases. So we just want to prove that they have taken they have taken part in the writing process. So so for us, I think in the future we will definitely discuss like whether it's about 50% or 60%, but more importantly, we want students to actually have a research log or something like that, just to prove that they have done their part. So so because for AI indicator, as we just said, like we can't really 100% trust the AI detector as well. Like each detector, they have different algorithm and then they will give us different results. So for us, it's more like a linear approach. We just want to make sure that the student has taken part in the research process and they have written their own assignment. So that's what we have done. Thank you.
One more. For the disclaimer thing you're concerned, I want to say our school actually have different versions of disclaimer. So that's the most strict one you have just seen, because it's a college English course that's supposed to be skill based, right? The most elementary like courses. So for this course, we adopt actually the harshest, the most harsh disclaimer. But for other courses, actually we have other disclaimers that are more lenient. For example, I teach linguistics, so in my social linguistic courses, welcome, be my guest, do it, you can use it. But because that's a more advanced like courses, I believe even they use it, they may not end up in a very efficient way. So unless I show them how to do it. So it's just want to show that you this disclaimer we show here is one version, that one of the harshest version of our school. Thank you so much.